Alrighty, students, it is Tuesday, April 14th, and we talked about 4 or 5 days ago about the types of addictions. We said relationship addictions, social media addictions, and we kind of talked about those a little bit. Today, we are going to be talking about emotional and stress management, alright? But before we talk about emotion and stress management, with any mental illness, remember it starts with the mind. How you think, how your brain operates, that's where a majority of these mental illnesses come from, starts in the brain. We need to talk about the mind-body connection. Your mind and your body are connected. However the mind feels will affect the body. So let's look at depression. If you are depressed, your mind feels depressed, your body will be depressed. And that's when we get to the tired, the fatigue. Those are physical things that happen to the body because the mind or the mental illness of depression affects it. Your mind and your body are connected. For another example, there you have these things called placebos. And basically what a placebo is, and I'm going to pick up this battery because it's right here, it's basically a pill filled with sugar. And sugar does nothing for the body, like it's not a medicine or anything. So what they do, when I say placebo, we're really talking about a sugar pill. And scientists have tried to, they do this thing where they take a bunch of sick people, or people who think they're sick, and they give them the placebo. So it's just a sugar pill, and they tell the people, hey, this is really good medicine. When you take this, you'll feel a lot better. Everybody starts taking the medicine, but it's really a sugar pill. What do you think happens to those people? Most of you would be like, well, they should stay sick because it's just sugar. It's not helping them. They found out in this study, like about 60 to 70% of people, or 7 out of 10 people, got better. And it's not because the pill did anything, it's because they thought the pill was helping them. And when you think something is working, it makes you feel better. So when we talk about the mind-body connection, realize that your mind can affect your body. If you believe something is going to work for your body, it usually will. This is why Advil, ibuprofen, and Tylenol are really popular amongst people. I know I've watched people who are like, they've taken ibuprofen, which reduces swelling, to deal with pain. And they don't have any swelling, and they think it makes them feel better. It really hasn't done anything, but because they think it makes them feel better, they feel better. So remember, when we talk about mental illness, realize that the mind affects the body, and you thinking of something positive or thinking, hey, I'm going to feel good, will actually make your body feel good. Now, there are limitations to that. Obviously, when people are seriously sick, thinking that you're going to get better is not going to help. You still have to take some medicines. But that was the mind-body connection. So, let's talk about managing our stress and managing our emotions. Let's break it down into 5 steps. If you're going to try to manage your emotions, you have to go through a process. And the first part of that process is know what you're feeling. Step 1, identify the emotion. What emotion am I feeling? Well, somebody came up and shoved me from behind. You are probably feeling angry. Okay? If you know that you are angry, then you can move on. But you have to know what you're feeling. It'd be really hard to say, if I ask you, hey, how are you feeling today? And you're like, I don't know. Well, that doesn't help me and that doesn't help you. So you have to understand what you're feeling when you're trying to manage your emotions. So if somebody comes pushing you in your back, you might be feeling angry. If somebody said something mean and hurtful to you, you might be feeling depressed. Okay? These are emotions and we kind of have to understand them. Identify what made you feel that way. Well, why do you feel that way? I'm angry because somebody pushed me and I didn't do anything. Okay? What are the other things that can make you feel that way? Sometimes you're like in your room and you're sad. Well, why are you sad? Well, you have to think about it. What made you sad? Because you can't fix the problem if you don't know what's causing it. So it's important. Know what you're feeling, identify the emotion, Identify what made you feel that way, and decide whether or not there's a need to respond. Is it appropriate if somebody pushes you in the back to turn around and slug them in the face? Or if somebody bumps into you from behind? I'm angry. I think I should punch this person in the face. Slug. No, it's not appropriate. So not only do we identify the emotion, what made us feel this way? Well, this person pushing me in the back. Should I respond? Immediately, sometimes we feel it, we hit the emotion, we don't think about what caused it, and we go straight to reactions. Sometimes things happen by mistake. Somebody might have bumped into you from behind. Maybe somebody got pushed and then they got pushed into you. There's a multitude of reasons, and you have to figure out, is it appropriate to respond? Most of the times, our initial response is not going to be a good one. Okay? Choose the healthy response. Punching people in the face is not healthy. It not only hurts them, you get in trouble, which hurts your mental health. Your parents are probably going to punish you, which means that you're not going to be socializing as much, which is going to hurt your social health. You might feel guilty about it, which might hurt your mental health. Retaliation tends not to be a healthy response. So make sure we're choosing the healthy response. What made you feel that way? Identify the emotion. What made you feel that way? Decide whether you need to respond. And if you are going to respond, choose the healthy response. And the fifth thing is protect your health. Your response should always protect your health. And we're talking mental, physical, and social. Okay? Your mental health, you want that to stay fine. Your physical health, you want to stay healthy physically. And your social health. Don't do anything that's going to hurt your social health. Okay? And social health is basically how you interact with one another and having friends and whatnot. Okay? This would be usually where I do something really funny in class, but I don't have students here to demonstrate. Let's talk about managing stress. Alright? You are going to have stress. And stress causes and exasperates, not exasperates, but enhances mental illness. Stress makes illnesses worse. Okay? Let's see. Let's talk about responsible decision making. Using logic. This is one of Mr. Durando's favorite things. Use logic. And some of you are like, what's logic? Well, it's thinking. If this happens, what will happen? So I'm going to go back to the example where somebody pushed you in the back. Let's say your response is, oh, I'm going to punch him back. Have you thought about what the consequences of that action are? Well, if you punch back, you can get in a fight. One of two things are going to happen at that point. And being blunt, you're either going to beat the person up and get in very big amounts of trouble, or you're going to get beat up and also get in big amounts of trouble. Both have negative consequences. There's not one good thing that's going to happen from that. Alright? People are going to see it. It's going to hurt your social health because it could lead to somebody making fun of you even worse than what was already happening. You're going to get in trouble at school, which means you're going to get suspended for 3 to 5 days, possibly 10. You're not going to miss all those assignments in class, and at the high school you might even fail some classes because you missed all that time to learn. So now your grades are going to go down. This could lead to depression. See all these negative things that happen if you just think about it for just a couple seconds? Well, if this happens, here's all the things that could happen. Logic is basically evaluating the consequences. Is it worth it? In the moment, you're always going to be like, yeah, it's worth it, but it never is. Okay? Use logic and decide what are the consequences that are going to happen. Plenty of rest and sleep. You're going to want to get plenty of rest and sleep to manage stress. If you are very exhausted and you didn't get a lot of sleep, and then you got to deal with a bunch of situations that cause you stress, you're going to be easily triggered because you have no rest. Your body wants to sleep, but you're doing this work. This work is stressful as it is. If you're not well rested, it's just going to make it worse. So always get the proper amount of sleep, which is why we did sleep schedules. Physical activity. One of the best ways to manage your emotions and feelings is to get physically active. Going out for a run, jogging, hitting a punching bag, playing sports. By being physically active, we actually release endorphins in the brain. Endorphins in the brain that make you feel happy. This helps reduce stress. Physical activity reduces stress. Okay? Plan. Time management. Plan your activities. There's a reason why I write things down and I make a list. I'm like, well, if I do this, 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 and this, I'm good. Once I've done this, I've accomplished everything. I'm not stressed. If you plan things out, they can't all come at you at once. How many of you have planned out writing a 4-page paper? Probably not. Many of you probably haven't even written a 4-page paper. When Mr. Durando was in college, he had to write a 110-page paper. All right? In that 110 pages, he could not do it the night before. Many have tried. Even Mr. Durando did some work the night before that he was not happy about. But I was like, if I do 5 pages a day, or like if I do 2 pages a day, and I get it all set up, I'll be good by the end of the year. I had 15 weeks to write it. 15 weeks seems like a really long time, but for 110 pages. But that's a little under 8 pages a week. So if I did 2 pages a day and I missed a day, in theory I should have had like 200 pages. I had about 115, but that was the point that I'm trying to make. If you do something and break it up into small steps and you plan it out, the amount of stress that you're going to have over the course of that will be dramatically lower than if you try to do it all at once. Seeing your friends. Seeing your friends is really important. Now, during this time, it's really hard to manage your stress because you're not allowed to see your friends and we're at a stay-at-home order. A lot of us got to stay home. But I'm sure as many of you talk to your friends via Xbox, PS4, and text. You should continue to do that because that really relieves stress. Talk to parents and adults. Believe it or not, your parents and adults, like myself, are once children. We understand that some things happen at middle school. We understand what some of the social implications are. We've all been through it. So why don't you ask somebody how they dealt with it? Because they can give you some really good advice because they've all been through it. Help someone. Helping someone helps alleviate stress because if you feel like you're helping somebody, that makes you feel good about yourself. That person usually is grateful for your help. It just makes you feel good. Have you ever gone up to somebody, complimented them, they smiled, and then they started up a really nice conversation? Well, it's kind of like that. When you help somebody, it reduces your stress. Now, if you go out helping people to avoid your work, that's not going to reduce your stress because you're not focusing on what is causing your stress. You should help people to relieve the stress and maybe go to the project, but do not just help people and use that as an excuse as why you're not doing work because that's not going to alleviate stress. So there's a balance here. Pets. Mr. Durando misses his dogs back home. Pets are awesome at relieving stress. Just go pet a dog. They're awesome. I don't need to talk about that one. Reframe your outlook. This is something that a lot of people, if you did this, it'd make you feel a lot better. Sometimes we're like, oh man, it's terrible. I can't do anything. I am stuck in this situation. Whereas if you look at the situation different, you could frame it positively. So let's imagine, we're going to use this quarantine as an example because it's very relevant. We're all stuck inside. Man, I can't do anything. I'm just stuck here. I can't see my friends. Everything is awful. Whereas maybe I'm looking at it, I feel the same way, but I look at it a little different where I'm going to say, hey, I get the opportunity to get some things done that I haven't got done. I get the opportunity to make a YouTube video for my students, and that's something I've always wanted to do. I finally figured out how to do it because of this. I reframe the way I look at things. If you reframe the way you look at things and take them for the positive, that will reduce the stress. Why? Because you feel like you've changed your mindset. It now feels like you're accomplishing something. So reframing your outlook on things can be very helpful with stress management. And some of these can be used as coping mechanisms, and we'll get into coping mechanisms for depression a little bit on another day. But that's it. No homework for today. Mr. Durando's got to catch up on all of his grading over Easter break. I will be doing that within the next 2-3 hours. So if you have questions, go ahead and email me, but by the end of today, all grades should be caught up. Thank you.